YouTube. What's going on, y'all, man? It's your boy D Weezy, and welcome back to another video. This is officially the first game review of this playlist I got. It's called Gaming on the Coast. And the game that I wanted to talk about that I just finished playing as of today, as of this recording, I finished it yesterday. It's called Sleeping Dogs. Now, Sleeping Dogs, it was one of those games that's been under the radar that apparently just caught steam as far as many people just got his attention on it, so many people started playing it, and a lot of people had high praises for it. So I wanted to see what the hype was about, and I played it myself as far as the main story goes. So, without any further ado, let's have a random talk. For the story of Sleeping Dogs, it starts off as just character name of Wei Shen, and we see him in the opening. He was doing a drug bust, and we see him actually be a part of the police trying to catch guys who was heavy in the drug scene or whatnot. He gets busted with him and his partner, and they all basically just go to prison. And when he goes to prison, he meets up with one of his childhood friends who go by the name of Jackie Ma. And they chop it up, they catching up on the old times. And then we get to later on part of the story after the conversation, come to find out that Wei Shen is an informant, and he was going on with the help of Pandrew and Raymond, and they want to have Wei Shen work with them in order to take down guys that are heavy on the drug scene, the crime scene, the gang scene, this, that, and the third. So you are basically just playing the life of a gangster who is an undercover cop. That is the life of Wei Shen. And you are playing two roles of what would happen if you be in a situation where you're basically playing both sides of the ball. Now, when I first heard that, I thought it was really interesting because when I first thought about this, I just knew already that this story for Wei Shen is just not going to go well because in that lifestyle, simply put it, nothing goes well. And I literally mean nothing. So as you're playing along this game of Sleeping Dogs, you're constantly can go alternate between game missions and cop missions as far as building cases and basically doing the stuff that cops do. So when it comes to the gang life, you'll meet up with this guy with Winston, and you get introduced to him by Jackie, and basically it's one of those situations Winston put way in terms that he got to prove himself that he can be a valuable member of the gang. And you're going through all these trials and tribulations with him. And along the way, since you're the new guy, the people that's been in the game longer than you, they already skeptical of you as this because you're this new guy. They never seen you before. They probably heard your name, but they still want to keep that distance because you're new. So you're going all your way to proving these people that you ain't an informant. You just have to show them the fact that you are willing to be a part of this lifestyle that they live. But at the same time, as I said earlier, you can alternate to you being an informant and you working with the cops, you're helping them with drug busts, you're helping them arrest guys, you're hacking surveillance cameras, you're actually can able to play a role of a cop. You pull up in a cop suit, you're chasing down guys at a police chase. You're just playing a role as a informant. And you as Wei Shen this entire time, you have to literally balance two separate lives. As we've seen throughout the entirety of the main story, we see every time that Wei Shen goes to sleep when something tragic happens in the gang life, or when he's having the arguments with Pandrew or Raymond, it really got him to have trouble sleeping, a form of PTSD. And he had a really hard time sleeping. He's waking up, he just really messed up in the head throughout this lifestyle. So the story, in my opinion, one of the pros because it was pretty engaging throughout the whole time. It was one of those stories, honestly, you can literally predict what will happen next as far as who dies, as far as who gets messed over, as far as what will happen to Wei Shen and the different characters throughout the main story. So it was predictable, but it was told in a good and engaging way that it's just one of those stories that you just don't mind because, in my opinion, personally, I don't think a story has to be complex in order for it to be good. I think that if you can put out a basic story, as long as you can explain it and tell it and show us in a good way that's understandable, that's not confusing, and can really keep people on the edge of their seat as far as engagement goes, that's considered a good story. Now, if your personal opinion, you would prefer all stories to be complex, that is up to you, and that's very opinion based, and that is an opinion I do respect. But me personally, I think that if you have an engaging story, I don't care if it's basic or complex, it's considered a good story in my book. And that's what this game has, in my opinion. One of the other pros that I have about this game is that the combat system was pretty cool. When you got to gather all the statues from this former dojo master of yours that was stolen from one of his former students, and for each statue that you find, you're able to learn a new move that you can add to your arsenal as far as you fighting a whole bunch of other gang members or you going one on one with somebody that's really strong. And I like the fact that you have these mixed buttons, or you can press this button 3 times and hold that same button for the 4th time to do the finishing move, or you can hold these 2 buttons together, you do the super move, and it's not complex. It's very simple, it's very easy to follow, and the move itself has some sort of impact to it, which is a pretty good thing. The next pro that I have for this game is the environment, because the environment wise, you just always around Hong Kong. You get random times when it's raining, or when you're in the big mission and someone's trying to have like a shootout, or you can be in this whole police chase or whatnot. The environment around it really blends together with the situation that's going on. Instead of you just doing a police chase and people just around you acting like nothing is happening, or you're in a shootout and people acting like it's just so normal that no one's fazed by it. The fact that they are able to do that, I think that was pretty cool too. And if I wanted to add one more thing to it as far as positive wise, they have multiple characters throughout this story that you can pinpoint and say, hey, this is the reason why this character is my favorite. Somebody can say that Jackie Ma is their favorite character because of how loyal he is, and maybe he acts the same way as Jackie does in the story. Some people might do that for Peggy because how she's just willing to see Winston as more than just a gang member, and she loves him for the person that's deep inside Winston. And women can really connect with that, and they can feel for Peggy in that moment. And one more thing I want to add when it comes to a pro is the missions are pretty cool. They have different forms of missions. They have you being in scavenger hunt. They can have you cosplay as a workers. They can have you just basically put you in many different situations instead of you just simply being a game member and simply being an informant. So I think that's pretty cool. One of the cons that I do have, since we're talking about cons now, I will say that you might take this with a grain of salt because this is probably a skill issue thing. I know a lot of people say skill issue to troll, but one con I will say is the gunplay. I would say, and a couple things about the gunplay is the first thing is that when you gotta hold LT to aim and hold RT to shoot. When you hold LT, you try to shoot directly afterwards. The aim assist, they can point you somewhere that's far away from the person you're trying to shoot at. You can try to hit a guy that's literally, I'll say, like 50 yards away from you, and you try to get a headshot. And as soon as you hold LT, it will point into like way above here. A lot of times, me doing that. Now, I ain't the best shooting gamer in the world. I'm far from the best. I'm not that good at shooting games, so I will say if you take that with a grain of salt, I wouldn't blame you at that point. But that is one thing I wanted to point out. And there's another thing coming to the game, the gunplay. I'm sorry, is that when you try to get into cover, it's not a lot of places where you can just take cover. You might see yourself in places to where you can say, "Oh well, you can take cover right here," and Wei Shen would literally just walk in circles sometimes, and he'll just get gunned down to the point where you might just have to restart that mission from the checkpoint. So that was the kind of thing that I just didn't really like at that moment. Second kind I wanted to point out is you're gonna have times when they have you travel to go to a new mission, and you could be driving past a drug bust, you could be driving past a racing scene, and some of the times on here they will drag you directly onto that, and then you really don't want to do that because you want to get to the mission. And then when you finally exit out the whole situation they try to force you to do, sometimes you have to go back to the map and then do the whole waypoint thing again, and it can throw it off sometimes. I think that is more of a minor thing than a major thing because I don't think it impacted the gameplay. I think it just kind of just a thing that was just kind of annoying, but I think it's just in a minor way. So I don't really take that really to the heart. Now I do think this could be a minor or major thing depending on how you view it. Just going back to the gunplay, you might have to really keen in on headshots because if you're just sitting there like me, just let bullets fly, you will see that you can hit a person 6 times and they'll just stumble and just prop back up and then shoot back at you. You're a person that you just real good at it. You just effortlessly do headshots. I wouldn't see this as a concern to you. I would think of it as a minor thing. But if you're a person like me who just let bullets fly and they get their headshots and they lucky, this might be a major thing for you. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put that out there to the world as well. My overall thoughts on the game, with me going through the pros and cons that I made for me, myself, and I, because at the end of the day, I'm speaking for myself, of course. I do think it is a pretty good game. I do think it has an engaging story. I do also like the fact that it has things outside of the story that you can do as far as uh, many challenges and objectives that you can do for yourself. And you can just go on the drug bust and you can do all the stuff that you can do with you on the informant side. And I also like the fact that they have multiple characters that you can see yourself liking this outside of Wei Shen, who's the MC. So I do like that as well. But keeping the fact that I'm speaking for me personally once again when it comes to the gunplay, because I am far from a good shooting gamer. You know what I'm saying? I just pull up and let bullets fly. I don't really just keen in and try to get as many headshots as possibly can. So take that with a grain of salt. And I also didn't like the fact that they a lot of times would just drag you out into doing other things when you're clearly not trying to do that. And also for like the second half of the game, they pretty much will have you just do this cycle of you do a mission, you return the statue, and then you had to fly all the way across the map just to go to your next mission. It's gonna happen a lot over the latter part of the game, but overall, I do recommend you playing this game. I don't think it's super great or amazing as a lot of people say, but I do think it's a pretty good game. So I will recommend that to y'all. I'm not gonna throw like a ratings or anything with that because I'll just say like my experiences on the games that I play, and I'll just tell you that if I like recommend it or not, and who the type of people I would recommend it to. So make everyone at least respect it. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to be at least respectable. So with that being said, let me know your comments down below about how you feel about Sleeping Dogs. Do you like the game? Do you dislike the game? What the reason why you like it? What's the reason why you don't like it? And with that being said, if you want to do all the stuff that every YouTuber say at the end of their videos, you can do that if you want to, but you don't have to because, as I always say, you're grown. You can do whatever you want. With that being said, I will see y'all on the next one. Peace out, y'all.